businesses don't make it. They fail. And the government of Canada understands that, and they said that if your startup fails and you come to Canada on your visa, you don't lose your visa. It's not a conditional visa. So if the business fails, and 95% of them do, you don't lose your visa. You can live anywhere you want. You're not restricted to go way up north or way down south. You can live anywhere you want with the startup program. Provinces. In Canada, we have 10 provinces, like states. And the government, meaning the Canadian government, has said to these provinces, like British Columbia, like Ontario, you know, we're going to let you pick some people who you think are best to immigrate to Canada because you understand your smaller province. And most provinces have their own programs. Ontario has a program, British Columbia has a program, and the programs generally all start with work permits. So you are given a work permit for the province to start your business, and you promise to that province that you will hire a certain number of Canadians, that you'll invest a certain amount of money, and if you do the things you promised you do, then you can apply for your immigration to Canada. Ontario, where I'm from, does not have a business program. British Columbia has a business program. But remember, the business programs, meaning I want to come set up a business, they start on work permits and you promise to do things with the province. The startup visa starts with immigration. So there's a big difference. You start with a work permit for the provinces, but if you do the startup visa, you start with immigration. Now, sometimes people don't want immigration to Canada. They want to expand their business here. And we have a program similar to something like in the United States called the L1. We have a program here called the intra-company transfer. And basically what you say to the government is that I have a business here. I have 20 people, 30 people working for me, and I want to open up an office in Canada. And the government says, okay, prove to us first of all that you've got a good business here, and then give us a business plan. Tell us what you plan on doing in Canada. How is it going to be a benefit to Canada? And if the government is satisfied that there's going to be a benefit to Canada, you can then apply for this work permit. It is only for people that are executives of the business here in India, managers of the business here in India, or people that have special knowledge about the business that's needed and unique and different, that you will be able to come to Canada. Again, it's a work permit. You apply for that, and you get it for 1 year to begin. And if the government is satisfied you're real, you can extend it if you are a manager or executive for 6 more years. And if it's special knowledge, you can expand it for another 4 more years. So it's a good program for people that want to expand their business. Now, we have another program called the Express Entry System. And what that is, it's an immigration program where you express to the Canadian government that you want to get immigration. And you go into a pool and you tell the government how old you are, can you speak English, can you speak French, have you ever studied in Canada, have you ever worked in Canada, do you have a brother in Canada, do you have a sister in Canada? And every 3 weeks, the government looks in this pool and they invite about 3,000 people for immigration to come to Canada. Anybody can go in this pool. You don't have to pay for it. It's free. And you go in the pool. But the difficulty nowadays is that you may have heard Canada had a lot of students come from here. And many of the students graduated in Canada. The government gave them a work permit for up to 3 years sometimes, 4 years sometimes. And they went into this swimming pool. And now when the government looks in the pool, they say, oh my goodness, look at that person. He went to school in Canada. She speaks English perfectly. They worked in Canada for 3 years. They have a brother in Canada. So the points are so high that it's almost impossible to be invited if you're living here in India or any other part of the world. And what a lot of people do to get more points is they get this thing called an LMIA. And what that is, that's a certificate from a Canadian employer that says you've got a job waiting for you in Canada. But unfortunately, in many parts of the world, and including India, people sell these for $40,000, $50,000, which is illegal. And I just warn you, do not buy one of these things. It's against the law. The government finds out that you did that, you will be banned from Canada for 5 years, and you'll lose all your money. So don't do that. So that's the express entry system. You don't need any money. It's not a business program, and you just get invited based on who and what you are. Included in your application for a work permit, included in your application for immigration is your family. Who is that? That means me, my wife, all my children under the age of 22. It does not include my mother, my father, my brother, my sister, just my immediate family. Anybody that wants to come to Canada must be healthy, because as I said at the beginning, we have free medicine. So if you come to Canada and you need a new heart, we give you one. So we don't want to give out too many of those hearts. So everyone has to be healthy. Also, you can't have a criminal record. We have enough criminals. So if you do, you can't come. But we kind of will let a few criminals come if you got convicted 5 years or more. So if you're a bad person for the first 5 years, you can't come. After that, we'll consider letting you come to Canada. And let's see. I think that's about all I have to really talk about on the Canadian side. I'll talk very briefly about the American situation. Out here, most people use something called EB-5. In the United States, everything's a letter, A, B, C, O, Q, P, L, whatever. So now the E. So there's something called an EB-5. And what that is, it's an investment type of visa. It's an expensive type of visa. And you cannot be guaranteed that you will get your money back. And basically what it is that the government of the United States has stated they want to create jobs. And the best way they thought to create jobs was that if they can get someone from this part of the world to give a certain amount of money to build something in the United States, and by building that something, it creates 10 jobs, then you can get your American green card. And it can't be guaranteed. It's expensive. The government has said in sort of poorer areas where they really want to create jobs, it will cost you $800,000 US. And in other areas where the jobs aren't so bad, you're going to spend over $1 million to get your visa. And you go ahead and you invest in these projects, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait, and eventually you get a letter from the American authorities in about, let's say between 6 to 7 years, saying, go for your interview here at the embassy. You get your interview, and they give you your visa for you and your family. And you come to the United States. The visa, though, is conditional. And what happens is that within 2 years or so, you have to prove to the American authorities that you really did invest this money, that really did create 10 jobs. And if it didn't, you lose your green card, and perhaps you even lose your money. Also, you have to look very carefully at these programs to see that your money is secure. And you want to ask questions like, wow, after I've gone ahead and proven that 10 jobs were created, 5 years or so have gone by, can I have my money back? And they may say, well, no, it wasn't guaranteed, you lose it. Or they tried to convince you before that it is kind of secure, but then they transfer to other projects. So you have to ask a lot of questions about this. But it is a good program if you want to pay tax for the rest of your life. I'm Canadian, so I always talk good. And that's really the visa that is used the most out here. But again, it's a long time. The only real advantage where it's not such a long time is that if you have any children that are studying in the United States and they're graduating and they want to do an EB-5 in their own name, you're allowed to wait in the United States and work and do anything you want until your visa is approved. So it's kind of like a implied green card while you're waiting, and you can work in the United States. So that's one good advantage. And also, what was his name? Donald Trump. He used this program to build all great stuff in New York. So him and his son-in-law, Mr. Kushner, that's how they built a huge wharf, and millions of dollars came from this part of the world.
Thank you so much, Stephen, for a very descriptive and a very honest and a very detailed input on the different aspects of India and US and Canada. I'll just take liberty to say a few words more, definitely as account manager for Green Inspector. Lot of prefer who have sent their children to the US, also love Canada, Stephen, because at the end of the day, you could be living in Vancouver while your son is in Seattle, or you could be living in Windsor in Ontario while your son is working in Detroit. And while living in Canada, you can enjoy the good healthcare system, not much challenges on the gun side, so all those things are there. So again, just a little bit on bias on my side for the Canada. Okay, my apology for that. Okay, so without wasting too much of time, I have our lovely guest, Mr. Mehmet. He is also from Toronto. He leads a very lovely firm called Dantons, which is on the business laws of the Canada. And again, we have the likes of Sulekha ji, Purita ji, and all the lovely lawyers here. And I think we have a business law from the Canada. So I think after all this finishes, we can go for a party tonight, with all the lawyers together. But that would be quite a hard on the rocks kind of a thing. So over to you, Mr. Mehmet, for a few words from your side. You are okay with this one?
I think I cannot perform as much as Stephen is great speaker, and it is often very difficult to speak after him because he's great at doing what he's doing. But I experience that privilege quite often as we are traveling together. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mehmet Kömürcü. I am partner at Toronto office of international law firm called Dantons. And I belong to other 52% of Toronto and Canadians because I was not born in Canada. I moved only 11 years ago. And I can also validate the multiculturalism that in my home spoken language is Japanese and my daughter holds 3 passports. And Mr. Green helped me when I moved to Canada. So I am particularly working on business law, and in my past I worked both as a consultant lawyer and also in-house lawyer. So my particular interest is on particular corporate and commercial law, and I help companies expanding their business beyond their home country. That is my specialization. That's why I can work with Mr. Green and his team on the Startup Visa program. I incorporate Canadian startup company. I do the shareholders agreement. I do legal advice to the participants. And once the company is settled and if it is successful, then I provide corporate legal services. And it is a good opportunity for me because my law firm Dantons is the largest law firm in the world. We have around 12,000 lawyers in 88 countries. So that gives me a good platform to help clients to expand their businesses. Currently I have clients in Uruguay, in Tunisia, in Nigeria. I'm helping Turkish clients in Romania. I have many Indian clients. I'm helping them to expand to US. Especially 2 of my clients out of Montreal and Toronto. They are Indian companies, one in construction, they are in hotel business. They both started around 20 years ago. The founders moved from India to Toronto. The construction company, he started as a painter actually, and within 2 years, he now has a company working more than 600 people for him. He generates around $200 million revenue. And recently he started doing projects in US. The hotelier group is even more successful. They own around 38 hotels in Canada. And recently also they start investing in US. They are now doing their first hotel in Miami. So this shows the nexus between India, Canada, and US. Canada is a good place to test the waters. US is too wild, too difficult sometimes. There are many opportunities, but you need to be careful. And Canada and Canadians are known for being conservative. So you can start your business in Canada, and then you can grow it internationally. And of course, US is the best market. And in addition to being a lawyer, I'm also involved in education. As a lawyer, I helped one group out of Turkey to start first private university in Ontario, in Toronto. And I'm acting as the general counsel and also the board of directors secretary. And our university is the fastest growing university. We got the license 3 years ago. We have 4 undergraduate programs and 5 MBA programs. And most of our students are from India, like 85% of our students are India. The university is called International Business University, IBU. Like, please check it if you have anyone interested in that university. I think that's all I would like to say, and like we are happy to help if you have any need around the world. Thank you. Bye.
Mr. Kapil from the Trade Commissioner, I'd like to welcome him to the stage, sir. You know, it cannot be that you remain in hiding and not visible on the stage, so I could not.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. I would like to call Mr. Gaurav Gupta ji, Mrs. Vani Bhardwaj ji, Mr. Vipin Bhardwaj ji. Please, gratitude to Stephen sir and Mehmet sir. Please give a good round of applause, everyone, please.
We have one honor for Mr. Dr. Pavan Kansal, who has been honored in Dubai, Doctor of Happiness. So he couldn't go there, so his award is here. So I request our honored guest, Mr. Ichifan and Mr. Mehmet, to honor him.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. I would late. Our next speaker of evening is Mr. Rishabh Kumar. He is practicing chartered accountant with 25 plus experience and expertise in taxation, contracts cross-border, and M&A deals and financial dues. Let us welcome with a huge round of applause.
First of all, thank you, Gauravji, and all the hosts of this event to invite me here. As we were told that every year 500,000 people go to Canada. Every year, Indians you will find everywhere in the world. So today my topic is how India, Canada and US, this collaboration can happen. And when the students are going, when the investors are going, one thing they miss. And as a chartered accountant, I am also a 8th generation farmer. Let me give you a little background. Today is Akshay Tritiya, and today the first Tirthankar of Jain, Lord Rishabdev, broke his fast with a sugarcane juice. And today I am sending freeze-dried sugarcane juice powder to Canada, so that our people who miss the fresh sugarcane juice and they want to relish it without preservative, and they want to relish it as and when they want, technology can help. And that is where the opportunity lies. Anybody who want to get into clean label food or a conscious food, India grow a lot of fruits, lot of GI tag fruits, and when the people move from India to Canada or anywhere in the world, what they miss is the roots, the flavors, the food. And if we can do that integration with lyophilization, it was a technology which was developed for people going to space, astronauts, and they used to take their food by freeze drying. So we can do a lot of help to our brothers and sisters who are moving from India to Canada, and what they miss is ghar ka khana. So the ghar ka khana can be delivered with technology, and it will be lightweight. Believe me, recently I developed a freeze dried ice cream, a dried ice cream. We all know sustainability, circular economy, carbon footprint, but the future of food is three: fresh, frozen and freeze dried. Zero preservative. That is the future. And when we say that there is an opportunity between India and US, in India it's a new technology, but in US and Canada it's a household thing. If you go to any good farmhouse in US or Canada, when I was working with Oracle, I was managing 60 countries for them. So I used to go every quarter to San Francisco, and I used to live with the countryside with my friends, and everybody was having this freeze drying unit at their home or farmhouse. I used to wonder why these guys need to dry their stuff. The reason was very simple. When the harvest comes, it's huge. You can't consume it. Today you can't consume Alfonso in an Alfonso farm, but you want to consume it over the year. You need to use technology. So I'm saying that there is enough scope to send our Indian Alfonso to Canada in a freeze-dried format, in a lighter weight, less transportation cost, higher shelf life, and good quality and flavors. Lot of Indian foods, a typical Amritsari bharawa ke chole can go to Canada. The same recipe, you don't need to change the recipe. Technology is here. So why I'm opening this issue, those who have invested in Canada probably will know more that how these opportunities can be leveraged, how these opportunities between India, Canada, India, US can be leveraged. So I will end up my speech over here. I will give you a food for thought that food diplomacy has already begun at a larger level, at a micro level, at a mid level. I worked in Coca-Cola as a national head in India. I worked at food FMCG companies, so I know how the food is going to be transformed, because the reason is simple. As the gentleman said, that you don't need to pay for medicine. If you eat your food like medicine, you don't need to eat medicine like food. Thank you very much.
One thing more about Rishabhji. Rishabhji is our founder, director of Gttci.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. I would like to call Vikas ji and Rajesh Pandey ji to present a token of gratitude to Mr. Rishabh Kumar ji. Thank you, sir. Now I would like to welcome Mr. Gaurav Gupta ji, who is a visionary leader in the field of global trade and technology, renowned for his expertise and extensive contribution. Let us welcome him with a huge round of applause.
Thank you, Poonamji, Master of Ceremony. Good evening, Namaskar. I am thrilled to be here today as we delve into the exciting possibilities of collaboration between India, the United States and Canada for business growth. As the founder president of Gttci, I am delighted to welcome each of you representing the diverse area of industries and interests that makes up our global marketplace. Today is a special moment in our journey toward deeper connection and new opportunities. The partnership between our countries goes beyond just economics. It is built on shared values like democracy, diversity, and prosperity. In today's fast-paced world, small businesses and startups are the heartbeat of innovation and job creation. Whether it is in the bustling streets of Mumbai, the tech hubs of Silicon Valley, or the tranquil landscape of Canada, entrepreneurs are breaking boundaries and reshaping industries. Entrepreneurship knows no borders. It is about creativity, collaboration, and pushing the limits. So let's celebrate these trailblazers and create an environment where startups and SMEs can thrive across borders. A big shout out to Mrs. Hani Bhardwaj and her team of Deep Pioneer Group for bridging us all together today. Let us make the most of opportunities ahead, work together and build a brighter, more competent world, more connected world. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. I would like to call Mrs. Hani Bhardwaji and Mr. Stephen, sir, to present a token of gratitude to Mr. Gaurav Gupta-ji, founder and president of Gttci. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. With a short span of time, I would request you to all the speakers, please speak maximum 5 minutes. Thank you. I would like to call Mr. Ricky Chopra, who has dedicated 23 years to the practice of law, distinguishing himself as a formidable litigator with a record of securing landmarks, judgments for his esteemed clients. Mr. Ricky Chopra, who will tell us about US and India business trends. Please welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, everybody, for coming here. I'm so very delighted to be here with the wonderful everyone here, and I wish so much luck to the family of business which is here, to Mr. Green, Mr. Dua, who's arranged all this. I'll be very quick because I've been ordered to do so. I was here, to talk about US and what businesses you should do in US, because I've been litigating both in the US and India for a fairly long time now, 23 years. And the more litigation you have across borders, more business is happening. So when I started, it was all about call centers and outsourcing and garment export. But I've seen with the passage of time that it's moved on to artificial intelligence, to fashion, to restaurants and hospitality, to agriculture, to renewable energy, to defense space, etc. So I've seen it evolve in my 23 years, and I would say anyone who is looking to start up in business must look west. We share the similar democracies. We are the largest democracies. We share a huge pool of natural resources. Canada, America, India, these are countries of vibrant people who speak the common language, which is English. So culturally, everyone is very fit there. Half my family lives in Canada, my son lives in the US, and I've seen, all the three worlds divided between the span of my life in the past very many years. So I could say you would find yourself so much in home, either in Canada or in the US, like you do in India. And I've seen Europe, and I could tell you, no hard words for Europe, but Canada, America are so very Indianized. They're so very Indian, yet so modern and Western. So I really wish the esteemed panelists here and the people, the stakeholders who are here, all the lawyers, the law firms, all the very best. And I would kind of encourage everyone to look west, as our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Modi said. Partnership between West and India is not only good for business, it's good for the mankind. And I actually believe that because I have struggled my way in New York, in Canada, and was able to build a decent sized law firm in the past 23 years. So I would say anyone who's starting off, and that's what I tell my son who lives in New York, I say start up in Canada. So maybe I'll meet Mr. Green later on to see what he could do for my son, and maybe for a few investments I've made in business there, maybe we could also open a branch in Canada, or somewhere else other than Toronto in Canada. So I wish all the luck to all the stakeholders here, and thank you so much. I hope I was brief. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. I would like to call Mr. Ricky, sir, please have a stage, to present a token of gratitude to Mr. Ricky Chopra. I would request you to please. Next, I would like to call Ms. Punita Harsh Kundra and Mrs. Sulekha Kaul. We have the head of foreign exchange laws with Delhi office of Vash Associates Advocates, who has an experience of 25 years. Mrs. Sulekha Kaul and Ms. Punita Harsh Kundra, who is an advocate by profession and a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. I would like to call them stage to share their views with us.
Perfect.
Welcome, ma'am.
Before I hand over the mic to them, I think it's a pleasure and honor to have Sulekha ji and Punita ji both here. Honestly, I did not, when I requested Mr. Bomi, Vash Law Firm is a huge name, and again, I as a person growing up has seen the firm very closely from different angles, from some of my relatives, speak themselves. So please, over to both of you, and feel free to express your emotions, and there's no time limit for both of you, my dear.
And specifically our focus would be, of course, US and Canada. And we'll be just going through the present few of the slides quickly because of the paucity of time, but you can get in touch with us later if you have any queries regarding it. So just to, most of it is in the beginning covered by our eminent speakers before us, but inbound investment, as you understand, the name it suggests, is something which is coming into India, and outbound is something which is going outside India. Why do we need inbound investment, which is otherwise also covered, but we'll just quickly rush through that it works both ways. It creates jobs, it helps the economy grow, it brings technology, it helps exchange of technology between the two countries and leads to market expansion also. So I'll request Sulekha Kaul to cover the regulatory aspects of the strategies for entry, repatriation and all. So she'll be taking
Thank
it
you,
over.
Punita. So insofar as entry strategy for a foreign investor who's planning to enter into India to do business with the objective of doing business, the foreign investor can either form an unincorporated entity in a form of a liaison office, project office or branch office, or they can set up a incorporated entity in a form of a JV or a WOS, or they can invest in a partnership firm. Insofar as role of liaison office, branch office or project office is concerned, that is very limited and restricted by RBI. For example, liaison office can only act as a communication channel between the Indian companies and the parent company. Similarly, project office is allowed to be set up only for undertaking some project in India. The other form in which it can, the foreign investor can invest is to set up a companies in India, either as a joint venture company or a wholly owned subsidiary. Both the forms are can be set up as a private limited company or a public company. There is a third form in which investor can come. It is a LLP, limited liability partnership. Subject to certain compliances, a foreign investor can invest in LLP as well. Insofar as partnership firm or proprietorship firms are concerned, only NRI, non-resident Indians, or an overseas citizen of India are allowed to invest. Now, entry routes for a non-resident investor, it can be either by way of a foreign direct investment or a foreign venture capital investment, foreign portfolio investment, and there are investment by NRI on a repatriation or a non-repatriation basis. Besides this, there are other forms of investment also. Insofar as foreign direct investment is concerned, as per the government policy, foreign direct investment is allowed in most of the sector under the automatic route. However, there are few sectors which are prohibited for foreign direct investment like chit fund, lottery, gambling, etc. And there are few sectors like defense, oil and natural gas, wherein foreign investment is allowed up to a certain specified percentage, and beyond that, you require a government approval. The approval is obtained from the Ministry of Industries Foreign Investment Facilitation Port. Insofar as funding is concerned for foreign investment, it can be the foreign investor can invest in the equity shares of the company. Foreign investor can invest in a share warrants, fully or compulsory convertible preference shares or debentures, convertible notes issued by the startup companies, capital contribution in LLP or by way of a depository receipts. Now, who are the entities who are eligible to receive foreign investment? It can be either a company which is incorporated under the Companies Act. It can be a partnership firm or proprietorship firm, subject to the caveat that only NRI OCI are permitted to invest. It can be an LLP incorporated in India, which is allowed to receive foreign investment only in those sectors where FDI is allowed 100% under automatic route, or the other entity which is eligible to receive is a SEBI registered trust or investment vehicles. Now, when a foreign investor invests, the Indian company which receives the Indian investment has to ensure that it complies with the pricing norms as specified by the Reserve Bank of India. Reserve Bank of India states that the price should not be less than the valuation done as per the internationally accepted pricing methodology, which is duly certified by the chartered accountant or merchant banker. In case of a subscription to the memorandum of association of the company, pricing norms will not be attracted and the shares can be issued as at a fair value. Similarly, in case of a transfer of shares, now suppose a non-resident investor is holding investment in an Indian company and wishes to exit and transfer the shares to a resident, or resident wishes to transfer shares to a non-resident, again the pricing norms will be applicable and shares will have to be transferred as per the valuation arrived. Now, there are certain reporting requirements as well for the inbound investment. Like, for example, if the Indian company issuing the equity instrument to a non-resident is required to file Form FCGPR within 30 days of issuance of equity instrument. Indian company which has received foreign investment is required to submit a foreign assets and liability form with the Reserve Bank of India every year, annually, on or before 15 July every year. In case of transfer of shares from NR to R or from R to R, again a form FCTRS is to be filed. Then there is a file LLP, form LLP, which is to be filed in case of a limited liability partnership for receipt of within 30 days of receipt of capital contribution and acquisition of profit, and LLP2 is to be filed in case of a disinvestment within 60 days of receipt of funds in case of disinvestment or transfer of capital contribution. Similarly, there is a downstream investment provision under the FDA policy, which is kind of an indirect foreign investment, and in case a downstream investment happens, the form DI has to be filed with the RBI within 30 days from the date of allotment of equity instrument. Now I request Punita to take us through the tax provision.
So, see, whenever you think about investing, either you think about investing in India, there are three implications which are there prominently. One is the angel tax, which is coming from section 5627B. Second is 56.10 implications. And third is the withholding tax implications. So I've tried to cover all three of them in this presentation. So angel taxes, as the name suggests, earlier what used to happen was the angel investors used to invest in the closely held companies, and there used to be a little bit of tax evasion strategies revolving around it. To curb that, this angel tax was brought into the scheme of the act, wherein they said if a closely held company is receiving any funds towards the subscription of the shares of the closely held company, and there is a huge premium which exceeds even the fair market value of the share of that company, then there is levy of tax on the difference between the FMV and the basically the premium amount is tax which is exceeding the FMV of it in the hands of the company, that is the closely held company.